was an eerie Halloween night, the kind where the world feels unnaturally quiet. Snow was falling hard, thick, heavy flakes that swallowed sound and covered the streets in a cold, white silence. My friend group had planned a big night of trick-or-treating, but one by one their parents shut the plan down. The storm had been raging for a week, and October had no business being this cold. It felt wrong, like something was pushing winter in early. In the end, only 3 of us were left: me, John, and Hayden. They were the only ones stubborn or brave enough to go out. We bundled up in heavy jackets, snow boots, gloves, and hats until our costumes practically disappeared. Only our masks showed, floating like pale faces in the dark. When we finally stepped outside, the streetlights flickered against the swirling snow, casting long, twisted shadows across the road. It didn't feel like Halloween anymore. It felt empty, abandoned. Even the houses seemed quieter than usual, the carved pumpkins half buried under ice. Still, we pushed forward. We started trick-or-treating, unaware that something else was out there in the storm watching us move from house to house. For the first couple of hours, the neighborhood still felt alive. Kids in bright costumes darted through the snow, their voices muffled by the wind. But as the sun dipped lower behind the storm clouds, the streets emptied fast. One moment it was crowded, and the next, it was just the 3 of us, our footsteps crunching in the fresh snow like we were the only people left outside. We kept going door to door, our bags slowly filling, until we reached a house sitting on the corner of the block. Nothing seemed strange about it. No decorations, no eerie glow, just a normal house weathering the storm. We climbed the porch, knocked, and an older woman answered with a warm smile. She handed us candy, wished us a happy Halloween, and closed the door. But everything changed the moment we turned to step off the porch. There was a man standing in the driveway. We hadn't heard him walk up. We hadn't seen him before. He was just there. A heavy winter jacket swallowed his frame. But what froze us wasn't the coat, it was his mask. It wasn't the playful, goofy kind everyone wore. This one looked disturbingly real, with skin-colored detail and long black hair tangled with snow, hanging over his shoulders like wet strands of seaweed. He didn't move, he didn't speak. He just stood there in the dim light, staring at us through that lifeless face. Hayden whispered that he recognized the mask Momo. If you were online about 10 years ago, you'd know exactly why that name alone sends a cold shiver down your spine. The bulging eyes, the stretched smile, the kind of face that lingers in the back of your mind long after you see it. Not something any kid would want to stumble across on Halloween night or any night. We all felt it at the same time, that sharp, uncomfortable twist in our stomachs. The man didn't move. He didn't walk toward the house or away from it. He simply stood there, half buried in snow, staring at us like he'd been waiting, watching, measuring us. We tried to act normal as we stepped off the porch and headed down the sidewalk. Every few steps, we turned back, but the storm swallowed him fast. Within seconds, he was just a dark shape in the whiteout, then nothing at all. Somehow, that made it worse. At least when we saw him, we knew where he was. And the part that really messed with us? It wasn't some teenager pulling a prank. The guy was tall, definitely an adult, completely alone, and standing motionless in the middle of a blizzard. Why? What was he doing out there? John didn't want to take any chances, so he convinced us to skip the next few houses. None of us argued. We crossed to the next street, trying to get back into the rhythm of trick-or-treating, but the snow was falling so thick it turned the neighborhood into a blank sheet of white. We could barely see a house or two ahead of us. Anything could be in the storm. Anyone. And the whole time, one question kept crawling its way into our minds. Was that man still out there? Somewhere behind the curtain of snow? About 30 minutes slipped by, though in the storm it felt like we were walking through a timeless void. The sun was gone completely now, swallowed by thick clouds, and even the streetlights struggled to push through the curtain of falling snow. Their glow flickered weakly, like they were being smothered one by one. It was around then that John said he had to head home. His parents wanted him back by sundown if the storm hadn't let up. Hayden and I walked him back, our shadows stretching and bending strangely in the dim orange light until he finally disappeared inside his front door. Then, it was just the two of us standing alone in the freezing dark, trying to decide what to do next. And strangely, neither of us was thinking about the man anymore. He hadn't followed us, hadn't spoken, hadn't done anything except stand there in that disturbing mask. In our heads, he'd become just another weird Halloween moment, the kind you laugh about later. So, Hayden and I kept going. We hit a few more houses, collecting candy while the cold began to gnaw through our gloves and jackets. The excitement we felt at the start of the night had drained away, replaced by the dull ache of freezing fingers and wet clothes. The storm was getting worse, and everything was just less fun. We didn't know it yet, but the night wasn't done with us, not even close. Hayden eventually split off toward his place, leaving me alone in the storm. My house was about 15 minutes away on a normal day, but in the thick snow, it felt like a long, empty walk through another world. The moment I was truly alone, Halloween died. The fun, the excitement, the decorations, all of it disappeared under the endless white blanket covering every inch of the neighborhood. No voices, no footsteps, no distant laughter, just me, and the storm swallowing every sound I made. The silence gnawed at me. I kept glancing around, hoping, begging to see another trick-or-treater, another parent, anyone. But instead, I saw him, across the street, beyond the sidewalk. The neighborhood ended abruptly in a strip of forest, tall, skeletal trees bending beneath the weight of snow. And between those trees, someone was standing there, watching me. At first, it was only a shape, a human figure swallowed by darkness and snowfall. But the longer I walked, the more it became clear. He was moving with me, matching my pace, never stepping forward, never falling behind, just gliding along the tree line, keeping himself perfectly in view. A cold pulse of fear crawled up my spine. I sped up, crunching through the snow as fast as I could, heart pounding louder with every step. That's when I reached a turn, a chance to escape deeper into the neighborhood, away from the forest, away from him. Without thinking, I cut sharply into the next street, desperate to put houses between me and whatever had been stalking me through the trees. But the figure didn't stay in the forest. He stepped out from the tree line, moving with slow, deliberate strides. And when he passed beneath a streetlight, the shadows peeled away, just long enough for me to see his face, or rather, the mask. That same disturbing, almost human-looking mask, with the long, wet strands of black hair hanging over his shoulders. He had followed us the entire night, waiting, watching, just keeping enough distance until one of us finally ended up alone. Panic ripped through me. I pushed forward as fast as the snow would let me, my breaths sharp and uneven. The empty streets around me looked wrong, like an abandoned neighborhood in a nightmare. Every sound felt amplified. Every step felt chased. I didn't dare look back anymore. When I finally reached my house, I slammed the door behind me and locked it instantly. My hands were shaking, but still, I didn't tell my parents. I don't know why. Maybe saying it out loud would make it real. Maybe I wanted to believe I was just imagining things. So I went straight to my room, heart still racing. For a few minutes, I just sat on my bed, trying to steady my breath, convincing myself I was safe. And then, the doorbell rang. The sound cut through the air like a knife. A cold chill spilled down my spine. I had seen no one else outside while I was running home. No trick-or-treaters. No parents. No neighbors. Just him. I heard my parents talking near the door, confused as to why any kid would still be out in this weather. My mom grabbed the leftover candy bowl, the one they'd already packed away for the night, and went to answer the door. I stayed back at first, but curiosity and fear pulled me toward the hallway. I crept forward quietly, peeking around the corner so I could see who was standing outside. And when I finally saw him, my stomach dropped. Hard. It was the tall man, the mask, the long black hair dripping with melted snow. He had followed me all the way here. He didn't speak. He didn't move toward the door. He just stood there staring into the house. And even though I couldn't see his real eyes behind that horrifying mask, I knew he was looking directly at me, down the hall, half hidden behind my mom. And then, without taking candy or saying a single word, he turned and walked away, slowly, calmly, like he hadn't been stalking me through the entire neighborhood. My mom shut the door with a confused frown. She said it was weird and creepy, especially since it was clearly an adult out alone trick-or-treating, but she brushed it off as some stupid Halloween prank. I never told her the truth. Never told her he had followed us earlier. Never told her he stalked me through the forest. Never told her he waited until I was alone. And I especially never told her what I really felt that night. He wasn't trick-or-treating. He was hunting.